Testing 1 2, testing 1 2. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We are live and welcome to JMK page. As we promised, the live is here. Our podcast is here. So, like I promised you, today we'll be discussing different topics. One of them we'll discuss the entire story of Mr. Edgar Chakwa, whose family won the case against the government of Zambia this past week. And we'll also be looking at what is external reserves and the purpose. Also be looking at civil servant debts, which in recent years or recent time, we have heard it being talked about a lot. We'll also be looking at UPND-PF fake alliance, voiding, and then we'll also be looking at Bitcoin. Okay, I'll continue with the Bitcoin white paper. Remember, I started introducing it some few weeks ago, and I'm going to continue today from where I left. Yeah, so today we are fully prepared. So we don't have so much topics to talk about, so it won't take so much of your time. Let me know where you're watching from and invite some friends, and we'll be starting very soon. Get to listen to some songs. So as I also invite some friends, we'll be starting very soon. Enjoy some music as we'll be starting. Make sure to let me know where you're watching from. Okay? Welcome to JMK page. Only thinking Zambians. Okay? Share the link. Let people know you are watching and we are live. We'll be discussing some interesting topics. All these has to do with the interest of our country. We want to see a better country. Yeah. Where are the people? Invite some friends, share the link. Yeah, let me know where you're watching from. We are live. Welcome to JMK page. Invite some friends and we'll be starting very, very soon. How was your day? How is it going? Are you campaigning? Who are you voting for? Write down the comment section where you're watching me from. We'll be starting very soon. I'm just trying to invite friends also. Okay. Let's see. Seems like the internet is not so good today. But we'll still manage. That's the beauty about the this so-called technology. One fails, another one is just there. Okay, so yeah, we are back. So there's a little bit of internet challenge, but we'll be fine. Okay, let me know where you're watching from. Invite some friends. Let me know where you're watching from. Welcome to JMK page. Today, the youth is talking. Share the podcast into your groups, into your timeline, into your status. We'll begin discussing very soon. Let me know where you're watching from in the comment section. So as you celebrate your life and do all these things in the world today, make sure that you do good, because this life is not our own. So make sure that you do your part by being a good person in society, and be mindful of what you tell other people. Let me know where you're watching from. Mr. Cosmos Mlenga, you're welcome, brother man. Where are you watching me from? Tivereko manje. Alpha Romeo. Uchi Akankala president, Kazambu Kuchitavikani. Let me know where you're watching from. The youth is live. They're thinking Zambian. Are you a thinking Zambian? Come this evening, we'll discuss some burning issues in our country. It will be very interesting, I promise you. I hope you can see the subtitle on what I'm about to discuss. Yes. Where are you watching me from? Let me know in the comment section. Share, and we'll be starting this discussion very, very soon. I'm also trying to invite some friends. Hopefully they are available. Let me know where you're watching from in the comment section. How are you? Yes, thank you very much, Abshai Suwale. Where are you watching me from? Here we talk and talk and talk. We are speaking for Zambia. We are speaking for our country. We want to see good leadership in our country. We want to see proper economy in our country, not that economy on the paper. Share and invite some friends. The thinking Zambian, the fellow youth is about to start talking. Let us discuss pertaining issues in our country. There are a lot of things happening in our country. For some of you might not know, but thanks to Facebook, it has made it possible for us to actually talk to each other and share easily whatever is happening. So today I'm going to be sharing a lot, including the ECL story. ECL has been dead for 1 year now, since last year June. Yeah, and we'll be looking at what happened, like what happened from last year up to today, and then up to the time when the government lost the case against the family. Hopefully they bury him now. What should be done to the empty grave, do you think? Let me know. But I know that immediately the government changes, ECL is coming back to list at the Memorial Park. Yeah. All the family never wanted was for Mr. Hichilema to attend the ECL funeral, that's all. If he had gave up on that one, we would have buried ECL a long time ago. We would have been in Zambia today. But the family did not agree with the government or HH insisting that he wants to be, I don't know if it's a master of ceremony or attend the funeral. That's not part of forcing Nana. Mr. VZ, how many of you remember MKV? Maybe some of you are very young to actually know this guy. So Mr. Vizi, it was Mr. Vizi, it was the MKV at first, he could dance. Ungai the entire MKV, is the one who did this song. And then he became Mr. Vizi, and then I hear he now is now a gospel artist. He had a very nice message in this song. Let me know where you're watching from. What do you think of my dressing? It's traditional. Oh wait, what have I done now? Okay. So this one was done by MP Vasaganyongo. So politicians always come to you to lie to you when it's time for election so that you can vote for them. But after that, they disappear. Next time you see them is after 5 years. This time, you're not going to vote for such politician. Yeah, they'll come and lie to you when it's time for voting. They'll armor themselves, but once you vote for them, you will never see them until another 5 years. They become so powerful. It's time to humble them, guys. Any failed politician, any failed MP, including, especially those in the UPND government, they had no chance to fail. They had the government to back them. Make sure that they don't see the power. You see, UPND is now a temple of Babel. All the wrongdoers and thieves have learned to them so that they don't get persecuted. The best you can do is to make sure that they lose. Okay? So, the power is in every youth in Zambia to change the government and determine your future. Remember that we were told that they have done debt restructuring. Remember that debt restructuring is not debt forgiveness. That money, which we are supposed to pay now, they have just pushed it to the future. You and me, our children, are the people who will be paying that money. So the power you have is to change the government. Right? Let me know where you're watching from, and let's continue inviting some friends. We'll be starting at 20, which is 7:20. They never deliver. They promise this, they promise all the mountain. They can't deliver. You guys, you're like their ladder to make it in life. So each time you vote for them, they forget about you until it's another time to vote. So I believe that every youth is enlightened today and they know what's good or bad. Those MPs you voted for and you've never seen them in your constituency from that time to today, don't make a mistake even remember their name. It will be a waste of time. Vote for something new. Make sure you like, you share this video, and let's keep talking. I've got someone special watching. Thank you very much for joining. This is very interesting. So I have to make sure I say good things. So Pilato has kept quiet as if he wasn't an activist after being given a chair. I'm sure when you're eating, you have to close your mouth. So Mr. Pilato is actually eating silently because he's no longer an activist after having a government job. But at one point, he did this song with Peterson. Yeah, the song is called Animal Farm, and clearly you can actually see that in our nation's judicial system, what's happening is actually Animal Farm. Anybody who is out from the UPNC side can never be jailed. I can give you examples. For example, the SG for the UPND actually called the biggest bishop of the Catholic in Zambia, Dr. Ari Kibanda, that he is a Lucifer, and nobody did anything. They have not taken that SG to police or court. Yeah. They have just, we've seen people insulting Lungu, although he's dead. We've seen people insulting other people, including Mundumile, other opposition. Yeah. No equality in this world. It's Animal Farm. I think you can see how most of the government come in power and they try to protect themselves, protect the people they are ruling with, and they do not pursue their own. We heard a lot of stories about UPND ministers who were on investigation by the ACC, and nothing, no report has come out so far. We have heard stories about how billions of dollars actually live in Zambia through illicit. That's a fake report which says that, and up to now, no investigation. There was selling of gold at international airport there at KK. A private aircraft for thieves parked where the president's plane parks, and they did some exchange of gold there until they were caught. Up to now, that story is vanished. There was a story of Sujilite, which was intercepted in Kabwe. Up to today, that story is gone. But we know that actually these things, people are doing them are those from the ruling party. That's the reason they can't be followed. But I mean, politicians, you don't learn that. You don't see what happened to PF officials, those who have gone to jail today, those who are being followed today. It will happen to you exactly. Those in UPND should know that when you leave power, one day, one or another, you shall actually account. So instead of waiting to account in the future, account now by doing what's correct. So Pilato was actually a very active person when PF was in power, and Peterson. Now they are silent. I think UPN has managed to bully all the activists and civil societies in Zambia. They are all silent. They cannot speak, or they will be insulted or being thrown to jail. It's crazy, right? Dangerous times we live in. So we'll be starting very soon. I'm sure the network is bad in Zambia. I can actually see it here. Kwete jogu. Whatever patata. Chito. Okay, so like I said, today's discussion is going to center more on ECO's family. Excuse me. So today's discussion, like I said, we are going to be discussing ECO's case, or you might call it saga, from last year when he died, maybe before even that, up to today, that the government has actually lost the case against the ECO family in the South African court. What does this mean and what next? These are some of the things we'll be discussing. And we'll give you a brief history of where these things come from, okay? Where the hatred between HH and ECO came from, all right? I'm going to give you a brief history about it. So stick around and do not go anywhere as we discuss this. So some of the things I'll be looking at, the other stories apart from ECO, I'll be looking at what external reserves mean, okay? And why are they for? Like, what's the purpose for them? Also, be looking at civil servant debts. Most of our civil servants, bunch to our government, from all fronts. So our civil servants are highly indebted. Okay, and this is a result of many challenges which Zambians are going through, and one of them is the economy problem. Okay, yeah, and also low wages. I mean. Our civil servants get really small amount of money, little money, okay, to actually survive with compared to a cost of living in Zambia. So these are some of the things I'm looking at. I'm also be looking at the fake UPND PF allowance, not allowance, alliance actually. So why am I calling it this alliance fake? Is because if you have noticed, the PF with Mao Sampa and the PF with Chavinga and a lot of PF members have actually moved to UPND. But the UPND president and the VP, vice president, have continued to insulting the PF. So the question is, which alliance is PF and UPND are in exactly? Are they in alliance or what's happening? Or Mr. H. just ate Siminduvida and Makebi Zulu, especially for the ECO's case. Okay, and then you'll be looking at the Bitcoin, where I left it last time. I told you that Bitcoin was invented for countries like those in Africa, where our financial institution became a problem and we can no longer trust them. So Bitcoin came into power so that, not to power politics, it came in power, or it was invented specifically to actually solve the problem of using a third party to transfer money. So if I want to send money to someone, for example, in Zambia, I do not need to use the bank. I do not need to use the third party, who might be even Airtel money or MTN money. I can send direct to you, and the bank and the government will not know that I'm sending money to you. That's how Bitcoin actually functions. All right, so it was invented to actually remove the so-called third party and the exorbitant cost of transactions. So these are things which are actually contained in the white paper of Bitcoin. All right, so a few minutes, we'll be starting soon. Sooner. Yeah, so just here for a glimpse of what I'm trying to look at. So now I want to we do some ECL. Okay, we'll start with the ECL story. Yeah. So what happened to ECL? Okay, so most of you remember that when ECL lost elections in 2021, they were not in good books with Mr. Hakainde Hichilema, who is the Republican president today. Why? Because when Mr. Hichilema was in opposition for a long time, the ECL government, or the PF, the Patriotic Front government, they targeted the UPND government, not only the UPND party by then and its leaders, not only UPND and most of our opposition leaders then who never supported the PF. Okay? So because of that, Mr. Hichilema and Mr. ECL could not see each other ear to ear, okay? Like they could not see each other. Okay? Eye to eye, like, yeah, that's a correct term now. So, they had the problem, okay? They had the grudge against each other, and I'm sure they plan to actually do some revenge on each other. So this is what was happening before 2021. So when 2021 came, Mr. Edgar Chagwa Lungu lost the elections, and he accepted it. He was replaced by Mr. Hichilema under the UPND government, okay? So the new Dawn came in power. So Mr. ECL, or Mr. Edgar Lungu, decided to retire from politics immediately he lost elections. He went and he was lasting, okay? So what started happening is that, remember that Mr. Hichilema had grievances with the PF government, and most people were in PF government. And one of the reasons is that most people in PF government, they didn't away from Mr. Hichilema before the 2021 elections, okay? Because maybe PF bought them or something happened, including the GBM, the Chimbatambo. You know, these people returned to PF, remember, when we were approaching 2021. And because of that, a lot of these people were being followed immediately UPND won election. Despite Mr. Hichilema saying he's not going to do anything against ECL, or he's going to protect him and all these, I think it was just a talk. But as things progressed, Mr. Hichilema started following ECL's family, his close friends, including his own guards. I think you saw a lot of instances which happened. One day police went and brought down the gate from ECL's residence by then, and ECL was being blocked when he goes for jogging. ECL was not allowed to talk. ECL was not allowed to go to church, for example. So he came out and said, okay, I'm back to politics so that I defend my family and defend these people who are being persecuted by Mr. Hichilema. I know that Mr. Hichilema is actually following me, but it's going through these people. So that's how Mr. Edgar Chagwa Lungu returned to politics, and the problem is continued. So for some of you, you know that Mr. Lungu immediately he lost power. It came to the light of Zambians that Mr. Lungu was not very healthy man. He more like he was sick, so he could go for medical checkups in South Africa every after here and then. Yeah, so he wanted to continue that routine, but the UPND government actually stopped him. At one point, they even went and ejected him from the airplane at the airport. Yeah, so there were all these issues. All right. So clearly, these two people did not forgive each other, and they were not in good books. Okay. So one time, the UN rapporteur, okay, UN Human Rights rapporteur was in Zambia. It's the only time Mr. ECL managed to actually free or leave Zambia to South Africa. So he went to South Africa then, and then unfortunately he passed away in June last year. So when he passed away, according to the family member and the representative, who is Mr. Makebi Zulu, the people, most Zambians, especially the UPND, call Malukula, is not Malukula. Actually, it's a defamation to call someone Malukula whose name is not that, okay, and who does not do that job. So Malukula, these are mortuary attendants, the people who take care of our dead people in hospitals, called mortuaries. Yeah, these are called Malukula. But most of Zambians, especially those who actually support Mr. Hichilema, they call Makebi Zulu as Malukula. But for some of you might not know, Mr. Makebi Zulu is not a Malukula. He's actually a prominent lawyer, a state counsel in Zambia, and he was chosen as to be a spokesperson for the Lungu family, okay, the ECO family. So that is the law he's been playing. And because of that, some angry UPND members and cadres actually call him Malukula, which is very wrong. In a normal case, these people are supposed to be sued for defamation or something, but we know that nothing can happen to actually people who support UPND today until the government changes, maybe. Okay? Yeah. So this is what happened. So Mr. Makepe Zulu was simply a family spokesperson. He has nothing to do with the board of ECO. It is the will and wishes of the family which he actually spoke whenever he came out to the public. Yeah, so it is said that Mr. ECO left a note to say, me and Mr. Ichilema were not friends. Okay? And so I wouldn't want him to actually attend my funeral physically. Okay? So this message or memo was communicated to the government. And then the government said at first that, okay, if ECO does not want me to be at his funeral, I'm not going to come. So they agreed. So the day the family wanted to bring ECO back to Zambia, the government of Zambia, through Mr. Kangwa, I think he's the secretary of the cabinet, they changed the memo to include that Mr. ECO and Mr. HH are going to spend 40 minutes in one room together with other delegates. Okay? So because of that, the family, after they saw the new memo from the government, they rejected and said, this is not what we agreed. We agreed that Mr. Ichilema will not be at the funeral. All Mr. Ichilema needed to do was to delegate. You know, send someone, maybe Mutena Rumango, even the wife, Bamutinta, would have been good. I don't think she had a problem with the Lungu family in a big way like the husband. Okay, so what Mr. Ichilema failed to do is to actually delegate someone to go on his behalf. He just wanted to be there. For what reason, nobody knows. It's the reason why most Zambians superstitiously actually suspect that he wanted something from Mr. Lungu for him to win elections. So I don't believe in this theory, but that's what's there in the public. Okay, so that's what happened. Okay, so this battle has been going on for a long time until at one point the government actually went illegally and did a postmortem on that board, and things became sour. That's how the Lungu family petitioned again, and it went on and went on until last week. Okay, after bringing all the evidence, including what I'm from telling you that Mr. Ichilema was supposed to spend 40 minutes with Lungu's body in the same place, was actually there during the court hearing, if you heard it. Okay, if you didn't hear, you can always go back and hear those court hearing of Mr. ECO, and you actually find that what I'm telling you is actually true. Yeah. So that's what happened. And then last week, the judge actually ruled in favor of the family of ECO. What does this mean? This means that the family of Edgar Chagwa Lungu are now free to bury Edgar Chagwa Lungu anywhere they want. Okay? If they want, they can bring him to Zambia. But there's no guarantee that the government of Zambia are not going to seize the body. Because if they dare to come with him to Zambia, the government of Zambia, through Mr. Ichilema, they're going to seize the body of Mr. Edgar Chagwa Lungu. So it's very much possible that Lungu is not coming back to Zambia anytime soon. I think the only possibility is when we change the government. It's the only possibility that Lungu might return to Zambia. Otherwise, we should forget until there is a friendly government or a government which will be willing to actually reconcile and negotiate well with the families of Mr. Edgar Lungu. Now, there are some tussles which are happening in South Africa. We know that the government's hand is actually in those groups, small groups of some less South African busy protesting that we don't want this to be buried here. We know that actually government is sponsoring such people. They should stop. It's very imbalancing. You know, you have lost. Move on. Concentrate on something else. All right? Yeah. So that's what's happening so far with Mr. ECO. But those people from South Africa are protesting that they don't want ECO to be buried in that country. They should not be overzealous. They are not sure. They don't know why the family will bury Mr. Lungu exactly. Until that is done, there's no way you can start protesting. I think you have nothing to do. You South African, let South Africa know protesting. Go and find a way and start working instead of wasting your time in the streets. But anyway, we know, maybe you are paid. There are rumors actually that the lawyer who was presiding on Mr. Lungu's court case, there was even some attempts to bribe him with some $3 million, which is a lot of money. This is just a rumor. It may not be true. But these things are very much possible because nobody actually trusts the government of Zambia. I actually wonder what happens to the international standing, okay, for Zambia. We are in our lowest stance. I know that some things have happened here and there, but the behavior of Mr. Ichilema concerning his family, even if they were enemies, is unacceptable and is un-Zambian. We should be able to move on from certain things, especially If our enemy dies, we cannot continue hating him even in his death. We should be able to move on, okay, and find it in our hearts to forgive. Because so if someone is dead, does not know anything. That's what the Bible says. The Bible says if you die, the dead does not know anything about the living. So each time must move on, they recognize that fact and move on. Malova is an elder at SDA. So, I mean, are you telling me that there are no people in SDA who can actually help him reconcile with the Lungus family? Anyway, maybe they are failed because the man clearly does not want to listen to anybody apart from himself. Yeah, so that's what happened. Okay? Yeah. So a lot happened in the ECO family, but we thank God that finally this matter has actually come to a conclusion and there's a way forward. If I was the ECO's family, I would have actually buried Lungu in another country, South Africa. South Africa is a polarized nation. It's no longer a nation we helped. And they are very much ungrateful because most of Africans helped them when they were still struggling and trying to get independence. They cannot treat Africa the way they treat them. Right? So they should change their ways, so otherwise they're heading for doom. Yeah. That's Africa for you. Yeah. So yeah. Okay? Yeah. So the next topic I'm going to talk about is, like I promised, I'm going to talk about the national reserves. It's also called the foreign exchange reserve or international reserve. It depends on where you hear it from. Okay, so what is a national reserve? Okay, so these are simply external financial assets controlled by the country's monetary authority. In our case, these are not international reserves controlled by the Bank of Zambia. Okay. So these assets are readily available. They are actually in a liquid form. Liquid means they can easily be accessed. For example, Nikashi, cash in hand, is actually liquid assets. Okay, and most of them they are denominated in the US dollar. So in this case, a particular contentious matter is the reserves in the US dollar, which the UPND have boasted that they have actually made it to go to $6.8 billion from where they found it. Okay, yeah. So I will tell you a little bit about the history of this reserve, where it comes from. At this point, you've got a glimpse what it means actually to have reserves. So reserve simply means the money you save aside, or asset you save aside, which are very liquid, or which you can easily access, and it is controlled by the capital or the biggest bank in your country, in our case, which is Bank of Zambia. So the purpose of this reserve, they're actually financial safety. It's called financial safety. That's the biggest purpose it serves, okay? It allows Zambia to meet its external obligations such as debts, okay? So Zambian government pays back debts through this reserve, okay? It maintains confidence in the kwacha. So if you've got more reserves internationally or more money from another country, for example, if you've got more dollars in your economy and you've got more pound in your economy, it simply means that investors will be confident to say that there won't be kwacha or dollar fluctuation in your country because there is this fund which is there set up specifically to be used to stabilize the currency. If there's less kwacha in the circulation, they will pump in more kwacha. If there's less dollars in the circulation, the BOZ will pump in more dollars, okay? So like we have seen in recent years, the government of Zambia has continued using what is called short-term monetary contraction, okay? So what it is doing is that it has removed excess kwachas in the circulation. They have pumped in more US dollars. It is actually this type of a reserve which is actually functioning right now as I'm talking, okay? And it's shocking that I've used this policy for a long term. I mean, 1 year is too much to be using this contraction monetary policy. It's not a good idea. The real drivers to real stability and kwacha gaining is production and export, not using this short-term monetary policy. It can be used for once in a while, but not all the time, like we have seen its prolonged use up to now. Okay, so yeah. Okay, so like I've said, it is used to actually pay your obligation like that. It also gives confidence in investors to know that you can actually stabilize your currency in your country. Okay, so they are made of US dollars. It can be pound, it can be yuan, it can be any amount of money. So these are all categorically called reserves. They can be in US dollar, they can be in any other major currencies, including the euro. Okay, so these assets actually can also be in form of gold. You know, they are also called reserves in gold. Can be reserves in silver. In this case, we are more focused on the reserve in the US dollar. So why nation need this is to stabilize the currency. In our case, is to stabilize kwacha. The more reserve you have, the more stable your currency is, because you can easily manipulate things to stabilize it if the other currency is actually getting more than your own. Okay, so this one is also used to cover for finance imports. Okay, so this is also the same reserve the government actually uses if you are lacking or there is a shortage of certain products in your economy. The government actually uses this to import more and more, and then so that they stabilize the local markets, so that stabilize, or towards I say curb the inflation. So if the inflation is actually accelerating, which means that you've got shortages of goods in that economy, the government uses this money to actually import some more of that good, which is causing the inflation to go up faster, so that it can become stable. So like I said, it is also used to pay debts, okay? And it's also used to actually encourage investors to see confidence, to have confidence in your nation, okay? Yeah. So it also works as a buffer against the global financial shocks and the capital flight. So capital flight, this is when investors in your country decide to actually pull out all the money in your economy and go back to their country. But if you've got this reserve, it can actually help you stabilize your currency from going down. So when capital flight is happening, most billionaires or business people, they have decided they want to pull out of your country. They will get the money. It simply means they'll get most of the dollars or other foreign currencies in your country out of your economy, which might actually make your currency collapse against these major currencies. But if you have a good, sensible reserve, it simply means you protect your local currency, because the more they pull, the more you put back. So this actually stabilizes the currency. Okay, so it also shows that economy is growing, which is very true. So we will not argue. The economy has been growing since Mr. Hichilema took over the government. But this is not entirely the credit of Mr. Hichilema. You should know that all the countries which defaulted in the world today, their economy began to grow, whether they change the government or they not change the government. Here is a fact which the UPND will not tell you. Okay? Whether we change the government or we did not change the government in 2021, these two things were going to happen. Number one, we are going to have debt restructuring even if the PF had continued ruling. That's number one. This is the fact. Because the framework the UPND used to continue debt restructuring it was begun by the PF. Okay? They started it after defaulting, because every country which is a member of IMF and I don't know, maybe it's Eurobond, they are obliged to actually do debt restructuring if you reach a certain level where you are unable to pay your debts. Okay? So whether it was PF or UPND, debt restructuring was going to go forward. Okay, so this UPND cannot boast to say that they are the ones who made the completion of debt restructuring possible. No, it's not them. This process was started already after default in 2020. Okay, why? Because the requirement by the by IMF to do this for every country that goes to default. All right, and what caused actually our currency to collapse and the failure to actually pay back our debts so that we default. So the PF government they are not a major contributor to what happened to defaults of the debt in 2020. The major contributor to that was actually COVID-19. When COVID-19, many of you know that economies around the world closed down, and our economy is very small. It does not do anything to the world. It cannot actually influence, for example, the interest rate of the world, because the economy is small. It's a very small open economy. So all the countries which defaulted, that most countries actually, their GDP were growing in negative because of closed economies, because of the COVID. Okay? So whether it was the UPND government or the PF in government, the economy was going to grow negative because of that problem of COVID-19. Also, coupled with lower demand for copper. Copper prices were very low in our country. Also, COVID contributed. This made the small economy to actually go in negative. It's not only Zambia. There are many economies around the world and Africa which were negative, and today they are all they are bouncing back. They are recovering bit by bit, whether they have changed the government or they have not changed the government. You know, in PF, a lot of things went wrong. Yes, there were a lot of thuggery and stuff like that, but they were on the path of doing the restructuring, so you cannot take away from them that. Okay. And if you look at the history properly, I'll be talking about the reserves between 2011 up to 2026 today. So in 2011, Zambian reserves were $2.5 billion, and it had the 4 months import cover. Simply means the money was enough to actually import for 4 months in case of a world crisis. That's in 2011. And the inflation in 2011 was at 9%. Okay? The inflation in 2011, after Pierre Banda, was at 9%, and then the National Reserve was actually $2.5 billion, and it could cover 4 months of imports without our market collapsing. All right? And then in 2015, okay, 5 years later after the PF ruled, the reserve currency grew a few $1 million to $2.97 billion, round off to $3 billion. Okay, so in 2015, the reserve grew to $3 billion, and then it had 4 to 3 months of import cover. And then in 2020, okay? So in 2020, we could see that actually before we even reach 2020, if you follow things up here, in 2020-2021, the reserve reduced to $1.2 billion from $3 billion to $1.2 billion. But why? Okay, so the reserve actually reduced in 2021. We were recovering from COVID. Now remember that the reserve money is meant to cover imports. It's meant to cushion problems, major crises in the world. It is meant to actually stabilize the currency and all these things. So the PF ideally used this money to actually do more importation, since the economies were closed by the COVID and they were in a recovered form. So they used most of the money for its intended purpose, which is to import more so that we can stabilize our currency and our local market. If they did not do that, the kwacha would have collapsed. It would have even reached where it reached the new PND. But you saw that despite COVID and all this, kwacha was stable around 17 to 20 kwacha per US dollar. And it was stable because they used this reserve to actually balance it and also do more import after COVID. Okay? So the APN do actually give you propaganda to say, no, the PF ate all the reserves, they gave it to their musicians, their women, their families. No, it's not true. What the PF used that money for, the PF used that money to buy imports and also to stabilize the kwacha. It's the reason why it's remained stronger despite the economy going into negatives. I hope you have learned something today. So, the reserves remained up to $1.2 billion, that is the early 2020, during COVID. And then it rose to $2.9 billion, okay? Inflation was at 22%. It reduced to 16% by the time we are reading 2021 August, okay? So how did the money lose from $1.2 billion? How did it rise from $1.2 billion to $2.9 billion by August 2021, and inflation reduced from 22% to 16.2% by August 2021. So you could see that the economy was already recovering immediately after COVID-19 under PF government. Okay, so reserve jumped in 2021 because the IMF, okay, they injected what is called SDR, okay, they injected about $1.33 billion into Zambian economy, and they did this to many countries because by then, after COVID, the IMF decided to actually give $60 billion to many countries which were in default and recovering. So IMF injected $1.33 billion, which when you had it to $1.2 billion, which the PF left after recovering from COVID, the money went up to $2.9 billion. Okay, that is before the UPND government. So the reserve went back to $2.9 billion by August 2021. So the inflation then, it moved from 22%. The inflation was actually caused by by COVID. COVID caused this inflation, and also the copper prices was affected, and because of this, the food prices started going upward. When the COVID is there, importation is limited, and also the economy is limited because a lot of people are told to stay home. We are doing Zoom meetings and stuff like that. So the economy was automatically was actually shrinking because of all those issues. But when we started recovering, which is by August 2021, things started going back to normal, and the IMF actually helped Zambia with $1.33 billion to actually raise our reserve to $2.9 billion. Okay, so the inflation was actually caused by COVID-19, like I said, up to 22%. But by 16 August, but by August, inflation came to 16%. That's why the PF left it. Okay, UPND has added up to $3.8 billion. Congratulations to them. This is actually a good score. It's a good mark. It's not easy to actually raise this money, especially if you have got a lot of challenges. But the question is, how is it possible that UPND have added $3.8 billion to this reserve? Yes, it's very much possible. But the problem is, what's the cost for adding this amount of money? So the cost is that Zambians had load shedding in the past 3 years. UPND decided not to import enough power to cover Zambians, so most businesses closed, including Parmalat, for some of you who don't know, closed because of power issues and economic challenges. Okay, what happened? There were a lot of people, a lot of things were suffering. There were shortages of medicine in the hospitals. The UPN did not use this reserve, which is intended to use in such times, to actually do these things. Instead, they decided to keep it for what reason, I don't know. They have kept it. Hopefully, they won't use it for campaign. Yeah. So the money now stands at $6.4 billion, and we have 4.4 imports covered. This is very good. It simply means that this money, if there was a world crisis, we can actually import for 6.4 months in the future. Okay, and then the inflation, they claim to be 6.8. Now, I have heard a lot of arguments online. Inflation does not mean that prices of goods and services will actually come down. It doesn't mean that. Inflation simply means the slow down of increase in prices. It simply means if owners of goods and services, products in the market, were increasing prices every day. This time, they no longer increase prices every day. They increase prices after 1 week, maybe after 1 month. Yeah, that's what it means. It doesn't mean price reduction. Inflation does not mean price reduction. Let me repeat this. Don't be cheated out there. Inflation simply means prices are slowed down. They are not increasing as they were increasing before. That's what it means. Okay? So, get this slide. I'm not just speaking this. The person you're seeing here is actually qualified agriculture economist. So, these things are some of the things I actually know. But I mean, this is out there. Today's world is very easy. You can easily Google this and you find it. Okay, so don't be cheated. Inflation does not mean reduced price. It simply means prices will not be going up quicker than it was when the inflation was too much. Okay, in short, higher inflation increases the prices of goods and services faster than the lower inflation. I hope you understand it in such a way. Okay, so now I'm done with inflation and the National Reserve. I hope you have gotten something. We talked about the reason why it's there. So National Reserve simply means the money government saves to pay out international obligations, to stabilize the currency, also to actually pay in case of the world shocks and the capital flight from the country. Government can actually control that through Bank of Zambia. So now today, let's move to civil servants' debt burden, which is a big thing also in Zambia today. We have heard a lot of stories about the debt burden to civil servants. At the civil servant, you are borrowing too much money. Okay? The question is, why are civil servants so much in debt? So let's go back a little bit in the history. In 2021, the PF government's last attempt, which was political, I think so it was political, they attempted to do what is called debt swap. Now, debt swap, this is a case whereby the government will take over most of the arrears, depends on the agreement, they have to civil servants. You should remember that the government owes civil servants a lot of money, which is called arrears. This can be allowances for traveling, allowances for meetings, allowances for different things which civil servants do. The government does not pay them instantly, so it owes them. So what debt swap does is that it takes over the debts the civil servants have from micro lenders and bank and other financial institutions, and it pays on behalf of their civil servants. And when it does that, what simply means is that the government's money, the civil servants' money which the government was, and since the government is going to pay to these lenders, they will cancel each other, okay? They will cancel each other. That's what it means. That's what the debt swap means, which is government's money it was to civil servants, and the civil servants' money will be cancelled because the government is going to pay those people the civil servant war. Okay? Yeah. So the PF attempted to do this, and it was stopped by the UPND government when they formed government in 2021. So why did they stop it? Number one, it was the instruction from the IMF. IMF told them that if you want us to fund you or borrow you more money, you need to stop this debt restructuring. What debt restructuring does is actually it removes excess money from the government and gives to these micro lenders. And the government will end up remain broke. So the IMF said you can't do this if you want us to help you. And for us to achieve financial discipline we have reached so far, it is because of such instructions. If we went with it, we would have actually we were going to have a lot of financial stress as a government if we had actually decided that debt swap. And let's see if it can be done in a way that it can be paid over a long time of period, and then there's some concession which are made. Otherwise, it is not really a good idea, but it is. Government must not really war the civil servant. Government must pay its debt to civil servants so that they clear up, okay? Yeah. So what can actually civil servant debts really do? What harm does it have? First of all, okay, let me just say the causes of the debt problem to civil servant. One of them is fiscal stress. Civil servants have got, they are getting low wage, like 8,000 kwacha, I mean 10,000 kwacha. Look at the cost of living, it's about 10 point something. So a civil servant who gets 7,000 to 9,000 kwacha, that's almost nothing, okay? So the government should consider increasing their salary at a good scale, not the increase we have seen, which is 700 across the board. It doesn't make sense. We need a proper, something that would actually match the economy, the cost of living, understand? Yeah, so the government must make sure that they man up and increase the wages to what's relating or what's on the ground, okay? You can't have cost of living at 11,000 kwacha and then the civil servant is getting paid 8,000 kwacha. It doesn't make sense. So something must be done concerning this. Again, another causes of debt problem is financial literacy. Some people just don't know how to use the money, and they end up borrowing for new chitenge, for new iPhone, for new cars. I think our civil servants, they should take time and interest. Not all of civil servants, some of them, they should take time and interest to learn about the utilization of finances. Also, high cost of living, like I said, yeah. So high cost of living is also a cause of debts. So low wages is one of them. Yeah. So, and if the government does not actually deal with this, what will happen? There will be serious consequences such as corruption. I think a lot of people are complaining about corruption in the government today, and you are wondering what's the problem. Most of civil servants actually are in debts, and they are trying to do all manner of corruption to pay back their debts and also just live better because their money is very small. So if the government were to actually do something about this debt burden, you actually discover that civil servants will reduce on how much they can get. And also, there's an institution called Zambia Bureau, I think Zambia Bureau, or Credit Bureau. Okay, this controls how much one can actually borrow from the bank. And I don't know why that institution is so quiet. It's supposed to be monitoring and making sure that citizen does not get above 50% of their salary. I think the threshold is 40%. You can't borrow more than 40% of your salary as a civil servant. And I think we need the Credit Bureau to start monitoring this civil servant if we're going to reduce on that. And also, not just that, I mean, increase their salary. Yes. So corruption will increase if the government does not deal with this properly. Yeah, and civil service delivery will be very slow. Payroll will be complicated. These are some of the challenges which the government might face if they don't look at this problem of the burden in the government. So if we're to do some definition, a debt swap is a financial relief mechanism where the government takes over or cancels the private loans owed by its public employees. Okay. In exchange, the civil servants repay the government under more favorable long-term conditions or cancel out reciprocal debts. Like I said, if the government was the civil servant, the debt will actually be swapped or cancelled because they just clear each other, okay? Yeah. So in 2021, government proposed a debt swap, but they did not fully implement it because the new government team came with some condition from IMF which stopped them from actually doing it. Okay, so President Brian Mundubile has promised the citizen of Zambia that if he wins the elections, the civil servant's debt swap is going to be done. So, by civil servant Mwanfwa, the opposition president is going to help you do a debt swap, which means they're going to help you. They're going to pay most of your debts if he comes in power. Okay, if the government owes you money as a civil servant through allowances and other areas, the new government is saying they're going to pay some of that debt. Okay, so I don't know if civil servant, I think it's a good reason to vote for someone who didn't want their debts to be paid. Even me, I would want if I owed someone and then someone comes and say, you ain't in Congolese, I will pay for you. Okay. Yeah, so we wish the Brian Mundubile the best. Okay, so it's a lot of things. Okay, so the UPND PF alliance and its problem. Okay, let me know what you think. What you think about what I'm saying so far. Is it a good thing? You can actually like a comment or like a message to me. I will appreciate. Okay, so we're going to talk about the alliance now. PF UPND alliance and the imbalancement. So the UPND, through their leaders, which is Mutaina Lumango and the Bamaiwa Mutaina Lumango and the President HH, have continued to insult the PF, even though they have joined them. You know, PF is actually in alliance with the UPND. The PF, whose president is Mao Sampa or Chavinga, I don't know which is which, they're in alliance with the UPND. But the two leaders, the top leaders of UPND, have continued insulting the PF and calling them names and saying they want to come back. They want to come back to where? But they are forgetting that actually about 60% of PF officials are actually in UPND today. So whether Brian Mundubile wins or PF with Mao Sampa wins, even if UPND wins power, the PF will still be in power because a lot of them have actually gone to UPND. Some of you should know that Mutat was in the MMG, was in PF today, is in. Even some Sokotua, all these people are not from the original members of UPND, they just moved. There are very few original members of UPND today, maybe Chaku Muimbo and this one, Mr. Mueto, the rest are not. They just came from other different parties, including PF itself. So saying that the PF won't return to power, you're lying to yourself. Whether you vote for UPND or you vote for Brian Mundubile, PF will still be back because most of these members are these political parties. Alright? So it's really much unfair to actually be saying that they are not coming back. Both HH and Brian Mundubile and other opposition, most of them, they have been in power. So HH has been in power for 5 years. If he failed to deliver most of the things he promised to the people of Zambia, why does he want power? Why does he want to come back? We also don't want him to come back because he has failed miserably according to the things, major, important promises he made to Zambians. So as he's telling his friends that they should not come back, he should also remember that he should not come back because he has failed to deliver according to his promises. So to Mr. HH, I've got a question for you, whether you hear this or you don't hear it, or your representative, you can take this question to him. Isn't PF in alliance with the UPND? Why are you not saying PF and UPND are coming back to root public resources if people vote for UPND? Does that mean that only if Mr. Hichilema is the president that the PF will not steal? Those who have joined UPND are actually thieves who are running away from persecution. So the only way is to jump in UPND. Okay? So the truth is that Mr. HH, Mr. Makebi Zulu and Mundubile, especially now that they have lost the case in South Africa. And it's because Mr. HM has failed to actually convince Zambians who are in PF to move to UPND, because those PF members, the structures are not with Mao Sampa, are not with Chavinga. He's been shocked that actually he stopped them from campaigning for 4 years, for the last 4 years or 3 years. He stopped the opposition from campaigning, but the mega rallies they're having It can only say one thing. I know that some opposition, like Dr. Nevas Mumba, who I expect so much, keep saying that the crowd does not mean anything. Crowds mean anything. If they don't mean anything, then even those who go to HH does not mean anything. They don't vote. So crowd mean anything. It shows how popular and people are disliking the government. Okay, this government has done a lot of wrong things, which citizens did not expect. One of them is actually cyber law. Cyber law will be a mega determinant of this election. People will vote because they want their rights back. So, and those people will not vote for HH. People who followed Mr. Edgar Chagwalungu, people who followed those people UPND has jailed, people who followed all these things you've been against are against you. And people are dissatisfied with how you are running a UPND, including those members who have moved to Karinkombo in Mazabuka. And you see, there's confusion in some words of the UPND. It tells you a lot. This election, Mr. HH might not win. The only way to win this election, he must rig or something. Otherwise, he's not going to win. The opposition are going to unite in the second round, and that will be his end. So, Mr. Hichilema, we are heading him to start preparing to lose the election and accept that he has lost. It's clear that he's actually a one-term president, and I have no approach to that. Okay? Zambians are living in fear today because of cyber law. They are all saying, I don't have a lawyer, I don't have a lawyer. Mr. Hichilema promised that he will actually scrap off the cyber law, but when he came to power, it was the first thing he did. So I believe that UPND opposition will actually join in a union and then chant to Mundewide. So for those opposition members who want to form the government now, I don't think on your own you can do it. You know that Mr. Mundewide is more popular than any of you. The best you can do is stop attacking each other. I saw Mr. Fred Mebelak's attacking fellow opposition, and Mr. Calavaricent was also doing the same. It's not good. What's your aim exactly? Okay, I know it's democracy and you are free to speak the way you want to speak, but if you're not interested in changing the government, removing Mr. Hichilema, it's better it's either you do your own politics instead of denouncing and insulting other opposition members. It doesn't sit well with many people outside there. Focus on your campaign and at what you deliver to Zambians than insulting or being against other opposition member. Your main opposition as an opposition member is those in ruling government, not your fellow opposition. They shouldn't matter so much to you, okay? So those opposition who are against their fellow opposition, you're not doing a service and you're not doing anything. You're just wasting your time. Focus on what people want. People want change, and change must come, okay? So the opposition must stop attacking each other and focus on how they can win this election and change some things. But for those who are not in eager to form the government now, let them continue doing small movements, and hopefully for the future they will do better. Look, if I had all the choices, I wouldn't want actually Mr. Mundewide to be in power today, simply because some people in his government won't be good. But I don't have a choice. A choice between the UPND and the Tosi Alliance, I would actually choose the Tosi Alliance. We are more tolerance. And I think we saw this. In the PF, yes, things were bad, they were cut and stuff like that, but some laws did not exist. Okay? So, why do they exist now? Zambia is not a prison. Zambia is a democracy and a freedom nation. Zambians are happy and they love speaking out when things are wrong. Okay, stopping them is not a solution, and you cannot handle them. I think they have shown you from the mega rallies happening around the country that actually can't silence them. If you do, they will speak in the ballots, and they're going to speak this time loudly. Okay, so and the other thing I've seen is there is so much hatred against Mr. Mundewide. He was just an MP and a simple minister in PF. You cannot really denounce him and insult him that he was part of PF, they failed to deliver, what are they coming to do? That's very much unfair, okay? It's very unfair. Just like nobody called Mr. Hichilema to say he cannot govern because he had no experience. He never had experience, not even as a councillor. But Mr. Makebi, Zulu and Mundewide, they've got experience. They know what Zambians don't like, okay? And it's very much unfair to say that they are not good people, they cannot learn this government. No, give them chance to learn the government. Alright, people make mistakes and they repent from them. If they don't repent, there will be one-term government also. So do not call them and denounce them or ask them what they can do for you. They were just simple MPs and they had no power. The person who had power in PF was Mr. Edgar Chakwarungu and Michael Sata when they were presidents. These MPs did not. So do not condemn these people unfairly. Okay? Equally condemn those people in UPN today, PF of UPN. Don't condemn on one side only. It's really much unfair to actually say Mundubile has failed to develop his constituents when we know that the central government as the one which has the mandate and power to actually develop a constituents. Because as an MP, MP's job is to lobby and also make laws which might favor the development of the country, not make laws to go and develop the constituents. No. MP's job is to make laws which will develop the entire nation and also to lobby for the development of their constituents. Yeah, sorry. Yeah. Okay? Not what you people think. An MP, his mandate is to make sure that they make good policies and good laws which ends up developing Zambia and constituencies. Yeah. So, Mundubile, you can't judge him harshly. Okay? Judge him based on truth and based on a good thing, not because he was PF. You can't paint everyone black just because they were PF. People are different, and how they would govern would be different. For example, who knows that Mr. Hichilema will be a bad president? Nobody, because we thought that the PF, Edgar Lungu was just against him or just hated him. But I think after some time, many Zambians have actually realized that Mr. Hichilema is as bad as people have been saying. Including Manawasa said Mr. Hichilema cannot be trusted. Including Kaunda himself said Mr. Hichilema will divide this nation. And we have seen the way he talks whenever he goes to Southern Province. He's a very tribalistic man. And unfortunately, most of the people who follow him, they don't see that. They see it, maybe they ignore, but Mr. Hichilema's message whenever he goes home to Southern Province is not a good message. It's a message of dividing and not uniting Zambia. Okay. So my last topic, which is Bitcoin and money talks, like I said. So ladies and gentlemen, give me another 5 minutes and this podcast is done. Okay, 5 minutes or 2 minutes, a short presentation. So you remember very well that when I began the presentation about Bitcoin white paper, I talked about why it was invented and the reason why we need it. Okay, so Bitcoin was simply invented to remove the third party, for example, the bank, the mobile money or money lending institution or institution for finances. Okay, so if Bitcoin, if you have Bitcoin Apple account and I have Bitcoin account, I can simply send money and it will come direct to you without going to the bank or where your money. No, it will come to you straight. No government will know, no bank will know, no Airtel money, no mobile money will know. That's what Bitcoin actually works like. Now this program was actually made for people like you and I whose financial institutions are failed and we don't trust them. For example, if you want to send some money, okay, for example, if I want to send a $10 to someone in Zambia, for the fact that I'm sending it in the US dollar, they would actually charge me $45 to send $10. It simply means it's more expensive to send small money than the money you're sending actually. But with Bitcoin, it's a zero. You send for free. There's nothing that will be charged from me if you're sending someone Bitcoin. Okay? Yeah. So as time goes by and we are losing interest or trust in the financial systems we have across Africa and many poor nations, I think Bitcoin is the answer to that. So Mr. Nakamoto came up with what is called a blockchain. Okay, a blockchain is actually a system of computerized or computation mathematics by computers, okay, which makes sure that when you are sending money, the proof is registered in this blockchain by many computers and it will be very difficult to reverse that transaction. Okay, so each time you send the transaction, the proof will be witnessed by everyone in the blockchain and by nature making it so hard to reverse the transaction. So if Bitcoin, once you send, there's no reverse until that person you send to, you ask them to actually reverse it. Otherwise, you cannot. It is difficult because you have to solve very complicated or complex mathematical calculations, which is involved in what's so-called blockchain. Yeah. So this means you will not need to a regulator or a third party, bank or government to know about the transaction. You can actually send money without knowing, without nobody knowing. You can send 1 million kwacha to someone through Bitcoin, and nobody will know about it apart from you and the computer and the person you're sending to. Now, those computers are not controlled by the government, they're not controlled by any person, they work independently. Okay? So, in this system, there's protection and the government do not know, and it will be very difficult to follow you. I'm sure you have noticed that most terrorists in the world use this system because no government, no US government, no Japan, no Chinese government will know that actually a transaction like this was sent because of Bitcoin. It's very private and done by computers, and proof it's you, and the witness is you. So that's the importance of it. Yeah. Okay, so that's what I had for you guys. Thank you very much for staying up, for those who have stayed. I'm going to continue this next week, Friday, and we'll be talking about other interesting things which is going on in Zambia, and as you go for election. Make sure that you campaign peacefully, and make sure that you hear all the manifestos, including the UPND ones, and then make a decision. But if I were you, I would rather vote for something new, not the UPND. You waste your vote. Because the things they have gone through, the load shedding, theft of medicine, injustices, Zambians don't need that. We need something better, and we deserve better. Okay, thank you very much. It's been JMK, your son, your brother, your uncle. Take care and be safe. Goodbye. Until next time.